With fraud investigations, including Feeding Our Future siphoning millions of state dollars, I talked to the GOP chair of the new Minnesota House Fraud Committee, Kristin Robbins, last week. Take a look. Well, joining us right now is the chair of the new Fraud and Oversight Committee, Republican representative from Maple Grove, Kristin Robbins. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. What is the goal of your committee?
So the goal of the committee is to provide legislative oversight of the executive agencies. We have not had this opportunity in the 6 years I've been serving. I just started my 7th year, and I think it's very important. It's a separation of powers issue. We appropriate the money, but then there doesn't seem to be a lot of oversight over how it's spent. And clearly we have a huge fraud problem in Minnesota, so that will be the work of this committee, to provide oversight.
All right. I heard you on the last committee meeting that I was at, or that I was listening to, you digging down, asking whether the ability to terminate a contract should either be mandatory or optional. It sounds like it's optional. It sounds like you wanted to look into it being mandatory. Is that what's needed, the ability of administrators to cancel a contract if things are not looking right?
It really appears that way. I mean, it's kind of stunning to me that we would have to micromanage in statute to that level, because there is sort of broad grant making authority and broad grant oversight authority, which includes, compliance and fraud prevention and all these things. But because the statute says you may stop payment, not you must stop payment, the testimony was that they are not stopping payment in a lot of instances. So if we have to strengthen it, we will, and I'm working on a bill on that right now.
You know, and one of the things, if you read the autism search warrant, this is the latest investigation into fraud. We don't even know how big it is, but it appears to be very, very big, very similar to the way Feeding Our Future was actually put together. It looks like the numbers of requests for autism services in Minnesota just exploded, and everybody was just saying yes and signing the checks or turning over the federal money. Why didn't somebody stop it and say, wait a minute, we couldn't have these many new autism cases?
I honestly have no idea, and we do hope to have a hearing on that subject. So we're kind of laying out in sort of a methodical way the oversight process. So first meeting, we had the Office of the Legislative Auditor. Last week, we had the head of the Office of Grants Management. This coming Monday, we will be having the acting commissioner of DHS, which I'm very much looking forward to. But at some point under the DHS umbrella, I hope to get to some of those behavioral health specific questions. But clearly, this is a pattern, right? So it's not a one-off with Feeding Our Future, which was enormous. But there's a pattern of people using fraud as a business model to take advantage of the taxpayers of Minnesota, and then people who really do need services are not getting served. So we have to take this seriously. We have to know how to recognize the pattern, and we have to be able to have the tools to shut it down.
All right. I do have to ask you, your name has been thrown out there as somebody who may be running on the Republican side for the U.S. Senate seat being vacated in 2026 by Senator Tina Smith. Are you running?
I'm considering it.
Okay, and quickly, why do you think you'd be a good senator for Minnesota?
You know, I think that this is a question that we can talk about on a different day. My focus right now is serving the legislature, serving the people of Minnesota, and getting to the root of the fraud. And I do have to say, this business model idea is something that I hope people really take seriously. People are preying on the most vulnerable and signing them up for services that are either not provided or not provided in the way they're intended, or that keep them ensnared in a cycle so that they keep getting paid for services. And this is an incredible problem, and we really need to root it out. So that's my focus right now, and the other questions will work themselves out.
All right. Thank you so much, Representative Robbins. And you're absolutely right. This money was supposed to go to people who really, really need it. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.